These are standout players from training camp, from preseason, that Nathan and I have to consider moving up or down our Dynasty rankings because of their performance. The preseason can shake up rankings a little bit, and while you should mostly ignore things, I do think it's worth mentioning a couple of these players, starting with Emeka Egbuka. Look, I mentioned this on Domain Fantasy Football. If you haven't subscribed over there, make sure you do. But he's gotten more hype from his own team, from his own organization, than I've ever seen a rookie get, really. And, you know, in the preseason game, we saw limited snaps for Egbuka, but what you did see was very good. Everybody's basically just describing him as a mini Chris Godwin. And really, I think the drawback to Egbuka, because you'll remember our reaction to Egbuka getting drafted was like, okay, we don't really feel like this is probably an ideal fit. But the more we thought about it, the more we were like, okay, Mike Evans had a hamstring injury last year. Chris Godwin just had a severe lower leg injury. And so from an age standpoint, from a timeline standpoint, it actually makes a lot of sense for Emeka Egbuka to be very good in that situation here within a couple of years. Well, it could just be that he's going to be good there right away, because Emeka Egbuka is getting such high praise that I'm wondering if they don't just keep him in the starting lineup, even with Godwin, even with Mike Evans there. In fact, my guess is that they would move him to the Z and they would have Jalen McMillan just be not even on the field. My guess is they're going to bring Jalen McMillan off the bench. And so with that being said, it's like, okay, so where do we rank him now that he's getting that much hype? Now that, you know, his performance has been so touted by, again, his teammates, front office, his coaching staff. And you've seen a little bit of it. We knew Egbuka was a good prospect, but, you know, I think this also does play back into when you're worried about, you know, a rookie being drafted behind older guys. See the JSN situation. I mean, a lot of times it just works itself out. And so in terms of where we have him ranked right now, you know, I've moved him up. There's that tier of Rice, Higgins, and Odunze, right? And it goes, you know, in Dynasty Startup Draft, that's typically gone by like the early 4th round. The next guy off the board there is Emeka Egbuka, and that's, to me, that's where I have him ranked. I have him ranked at 20 in my Dynasty rankings right now, and that's really where I think he belongs, because he's at the top of a tier of guys like Zay Flowers, Xavier Worthy, Devonta Smith, and then there's probably another little bit of a tier break there. But with Egbuka, I mean, he's in that range where there's really, it's just a complete ghost town for wide receivers in that range. You never see wide receivers go in that range in Dynasty Startup Drafts. And Egbuka's been starting to go like early 5th. And honestly, I can get behind it. I think he's pretty safe from a value perspective. Obviously, we told you, hey, trade for Egbuka before all this happened like 3-4 weeks ago, because we're like, you know what? I mean, with Godwin and Evans out, it actually makes sense for him to make a big splash in the preseason. It's exactly what's happening here. And so even though we were telling you to buy him then, now's the time where we actually, I think, have to move him up our rankings a little bit. So Egbuka is a guy that I think we're both excited about. We know he's going to be very good. I think he's just a high floor guy in Dynasty Fantasy Football. And so considering where we had him ranked, I think 20 is a good spot for him. And I think, you know, at this point, his upside is, I mean, top 15 wide receiver. I really do think that is what it is. And so, you know, he's not going to be probably a top 12 ceiling guy, I don't think, but he does have a little bit of room to go up in value. And so we'll place him here and give him his flowers for what has been really a good start of the season for Emeka Egbuka.
Travion Henderson looked like one of the best rookies that we saw all of week 1. Cross-positionally, I mean, any position you looked at Travion Henderson, you were like, oh my gosh, he was almost the star of the week. We're going to talk about the star of the week. Don't worry, we're not going to ignore it. But with Travion Henderson, he had first play of the game of offense for the New England Patriots. He has a 100-yard return touchdown. So that's just special teams. You're like, okay, that doesn't really matter that much. It's, you know, it's volatile special teams. Okay, and the offense, receiving usage there. The running opportunity and the efficiency and how explosive he looked, it was all there. I mean, playing with the first team with Drake May, you started to see like how this pairing with Drake May and Travion Henderson in the backfield really looked like, and it was beautiful. And I mean, it kind of brought us to tears because we were so excited. Not really, yeah. But we were very excited to see finally like a glimpse of what Travion Henderson could really play in this offense in New England and a Mike Vrabel offense. And again, it's essentially everything that we suspected. His receiving upside and capability is there because of his ability to be on the field as a really, really good passing game blocker in the backfield. And he can really be that check down option for Drake May if he's under duress. But again, that's just going to give him more and more opportunities to be consistently on the field, like every single play, if they really want him to and need him to. And again, Ramondre just did not look like anything crazy, anything special. So I think honestly, even sooner than maybe we suspected, we were like, hey, maybe an even split between Ramondre and Henderson right out the gate starting week 1 of the season. I think Henderson's going to have the upper hand right away. I'll drink the Kool-Aid with this one, man. I'll buy the hype on this one. Again, there are some things that you have to take with a grain of salt in preseason and understand that a lot of these guys that you're playing up against are second team, third team defenses. But when you look at schematically how Henderson was utilized and how explosive he was consistently on those drives, you can't not have that guy on the field. You're stupid if you put Ramondre over him.
Right now is a super good time for us to take a look at your Dynasty teams, give you a second opinion. We're doing a ton of team blueprints right now because it is really the time to get your Dynasty team ready. Know what your plan is for this year and make moves now for guys like this that are going up rankings. Get guys that go up before they actually go up. And also, if some of you might be targeting some of these, and so you get a free team blueprint with the annual Mother Flocker tier and code domain over on the site. You also get our entire Discord community, the Dynasty trade calculator, all of our Dynasty rankings, our draft guides, exclusive access to everything that we have and more. And so you can get, again, that free team blueprint is included with the annual Mother Flocker tier with code domain. You got to use code domain when you sign up, but the link's down in the comments if you guys want to take advantage. We can get Nathan and I do all these personally, so we can take a look at your team and we can tell you what we think about it and what our opinion is. But I would be a little bit remiss here if let's put this on the record. He did not want to talk about Tyrone Tracy. I will do it. I'm the big boy here. And because I said, well, we got to talk about Tracy, and he said, well, we didn't do anything. Well, here's the truth with Tracy. The truth is, yes, we can't predict injury with Cam Skattebo. There's no way we could have known that was going to happen, and we were saying that Skattebo was going to be the guy there. I don't like that it's a hamstring injury. I really don't like that it's a lingering hamstring injury, and they're not even calling it like a new injury. It's a setback. I hate it. I hate it bad. But the truth is, even with that injury, and what's funny is we didn't hear any of this until after the injury occurred to Skattebo, but evidently Tracy has been the guy there. The guy that, what the reports are, I don't know if this is true, the reports are that he was always going to be the top option, always going to be the feature back. He's been running with the ones. Skattebo wasn't even running with the ones that much, and Tracy's always been the guy. And if that is the case, I have had no choice but to move him up my Dynasty rankings. And yes, does that mean that I was potentially wrong about Tyrone Tracy? Yeah, and we miss on some, right? And that's just part of it. But I want to get ahead of this. He hasn't really gone up in Dynasty value, and so I want to get ahead of this a little bit. I'm obviously not going to move him up crazy, but I have to put him at least next to where I had Skattebo. I had to move Skattebo down a little bit. If Tracy really is the feature back there, like if he's not going to get his role completely usurped by Cam Skattebo, then I don't know why I wouldn't move him up my Dynasty rankings. Again, I've got him at 27. I've got him with like James Conner, DeAndre Swift, like, behind Montgomery, behind Mixon. I still don't believe in him long term, and either way, you're buying into a running back on a bad offense. But the fact of the matter is, I feel like we'd be a little bit disingenuous if we didn't mention this, because the reports coming out about Tyrone Tracy have been exactly opposite of what we said about Tyrone Tracy during the offseason. So I'm not going to come sit here and be like, yeah, we were totally wrong because it's only preseason. But I did move him up. Is a guy that I'm low on, and I'm willing to say, look, this is not how I thought it was going to go. It's possible we were wrong about this, so I'm going to go ahead and put him about where I have Cam Skattebo and let these two fight it out for who I end up eventually moving up my rankings. But again, Tracy has been a guy that you can't really ignore. I had him low enough. I pretty much buried him. Probably it looks like it was the wrong move because right now he's the one. So I don't know. Maybe it won't last. Maybe they'll draft somebody anyways next year. But for now, I think he's somebody that you have to consider moving up rankings. I went ahead and did it in mine. I doubt Nathan's going to move him up his rankings. So let's hear. Are you going to move him up your rankings, Nate?
I might a few spots. I just looked at my rankings. I had him lower than I thought I did. So
did I. That's why I moved him up.
Yeah,
so.
I need to bring him up.
Anyways, again, I mean, it's very possible.
I won't put him up as high as you. I'll probably have him mid-early 30s. What do you have him? High 20s? I have him at
27.
Mid-20s?
27.
Okay.
I have him, Skattebo, Jaden Blue.
I'll probably have him like early to mid-30s.
So again, it's possible we were wrong. Like we are fully prepared to take our L, but it's just the preseason, so we're just kind of playing the market right now.
I mean, if he ends up being the starting running back, then that's that's what you do with every starting running back. It's like with Tank Bigsby in the early offseason. Did you expect him to be the starting guy? No. Same with ETN.
Well, what's funny is they said he was, and now Tank Bigsby evidently isn't the starting running back.
Right, so then it's ETN, but then maybe it's Tootin. Like some of this you have to adjust in real time. And I understand that. But with Tet McMillan, here's what I definitely understand with Tet McMillan. Oh, boy.
It's about too late. We're about too late now. You better get in, or your train's leaving.
What do you mean get in?
Well, I mean, we've been telling people that Tet McMillan is a buy.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me. I was like, what are you talking about?
You better get on board with Tet McMillan.
I've been so out on Tet.
Right.
Forever.
Nathan's been telling you, fade Tet.
Yeah, so, I mean, Tet's been a borderline top 12 guy in our wide receiver rankings for a while. Right there in that tier with Marv, Ladd, even Travis Hunter, Garrett Wilson. JSN as well. I mean, guys, if you want to be aggressive with Tet McMillan and rank him right below Nico Collins in your dynasty rankings, I have no issue with it. Right below Nico Collins and Drake London, over JSN and Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't have an issue with it, honestly. So this is not just because of the preseason stuff where he had a ridiculous catch down the sideline, where Bryce Young was looking like he was picking up right where he left off at the end of last season. Again, in a preseason game, you take all this with a grain of salt. But again, what we care a lot more about is the formations and how these guys are being utilized when you get a little bit of a glimpse of that first team offense. And when you saw that first team offense and where Tet McMillan was lining up on the field and how he was being utilized with Bryce Young getting him the ball, again, it's not just because he was able to bring down a really nice contested catch. It's because he's being utilized exactly how we expected and suspected that he was going to be utilized in that offense right out the gate. And that is the number one guy. That is the big playability Mike Evans-esque build that's going to have any given week probably the upside to drop 20-plus points. And yeah, is he going to have some bust weeks? Sure. I mean, you've seen that with guys. You've seen that with X wide receivers across the league all the time. X wide receivers, if they don't get their their big play any given week, then maybe they're going to have like a 7 to 10 point game, and it'll be a little more disappointing. Tet McMillan and his traits they're unmatched when you're looking at anybody else, honestly, in this wide receiver class this season, with the exception again of Travis Hunter. But again, unlike Travis Hunter, we're not having to worry about these other guys as much as we like Liam Cohen, as much as we like this new offense that we're seeing in Jacksonville. At this point, I'm starting to solidify my rank. In my rankings right now, I have Tet and Hunter back to back. I have Hunter at 13, or I have McMillan at 13 and Hunter at 14. I might even separate them by a couple spots at this point because I'm pretty confident that Tet's going to come out right out the gate and look pretty solid if what we expect about Bryce Young is going to be true, and that is he's going to be a very serviceable quarterback and provide a good amount of volume like he did at the end of last season for those wide receivers to be productive. Like we got to be consistent with our logic across the board. If we're going to say, hey, Tet McMillan is going to be productive, or hey, Bryce Young's going to provide all this volume, and hey, all these guys were productive in last year's offense in Carolina at the end of the season because of that volume that Bryce Young offered, like I don't know how we can't be super excited about Tet McMillan and what he's going to be capable of doing, I think, very, very soon.
Well, and I think you also have to mention Bryce Young here because Bryce Young looked fairly good. I mean, we were watching that game, and he looked fairly good in the preseason game as well. And so if we really do believe that Tet's going to be that good, then it is also, like you mentioned, an indictment on Bryce Young. And the question with Bryce Young is with his ranking, like, he's in the Penix, McCarthy, Trevor Lawrence, like Tua Tagovailoa range, Dak Prescott. Like, where do you rank him there? You don't really know. But I also think Bryce Young is somebody that you're going to have to consider. If he continues what he was doing at the end of last season, at the beginning of the season, he's going to be moving up our rankings very quickly, and that's worth talking about as well. Okay, we got to talk about Shedeur. Yes, I did tell you to sell him for a bag of chips. He's probably worth 2 bags of chips right now. So that's, you could have waited and sold him for an extra bag. You'd have 2 lunches. My bad. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because there's really not a lot to talk about. Shedeur's not the starter. Shedeur's the only reason Shedeur's playing is because Joe Flacco has beat him out in camp. And so the Browns coaches know what they're seeing in camp. It's not like after this preseason game they're going to be like, you know what, Shedeur proved it. He's the starter now. Not happening. What Shedeur really did come out and prove, and he, by the way, admittedly, Shedeur looked better than I thought he would. Like, we were watching the game and we were like, oh, like that actually looks pretty good. Which, I mean, we all knew Shedeur Sanders was talented. I mean, you could see it on his film. Like, anybody who watched his film knew that he was a talented QB.
Yeah.
What he did show in the preseason game, I think, was that he's going to get a shot. He's going to be on the roster, which he was fighting for a roster spot. Like, let's make no mistake about it. He was fighting for a roster spot like any fifth-round QB, and it was pretty well reported by the Browns beat reporters. Now I think he's going to get a roster spot. It's just a matter of, can he develop? Does he get on the field? Like, again, Joe Flacco is probably going to – I don't know how Joe Flacco is going to be the starter there, but he's going to be. Somehow Joe Flacco is going to start. Somehow Palpatine has returned. And whether or not Shedeur Sanders gets on the field this year, I don't know. But he did look good. It's worth mentioning. Again, I'm not moving him on my rankings yet. I'm not. Like, I think that's a huge overreaction at this point.
Yeah, admittedly, though, with the Shedeur Sanders stuff, we should have seen this coming with his market value and what it was going to do with just a glimpse of a chance of maybe being the starting quarterback sometime down the road for the Cleveland Browns when he got usage in the preseason. That's something that we probably should have foreseen. Like when we were telling you guys, don't draft Shedeur, don't draft Shedeur, don't draft Shedeur. Again, we stand by. You probably shouldn't have drafted Shedeur in the mid-second if you were reaching on him there in your rookie drafts.
No.
But if you wanted to take a shot on Shedeur Sanders in like the mid to late third, if he was available there in your rookie drafts back in April and May, like they're really like we should not have had an issue with that and been so adamantly against it, because at the end of the day, it's a dumpster fire in Cleveland, and anyone and everyone's going to get an opportunity to start there. And with the name value alone with Shedeur Sanders, the moment he was going to throw a preseason touchdown pass, his value was going to double.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
That was oversight on our part.
Yes,
so
it was.
Next guy we're going to have here is Jarquez Hunter. This one's a little less positive. I mean, pretty much positive marks for every single one of these guys so far. This will be our first negative one with Jarquez. Obviously, the big news over the last week in Dynasty has been that Kyron Williams gets an extension. Sean McVay's vow to never pay or never extend a running back ever again has now been proven incorrect, and that's not incorrect, but he went against his own word, and he signed Kyron Williams, and we suspected that would happen because, again, like, 8 years now removed from Todd Gurley, and Kyron Williams is a big part of why that offense is so successful, or has been so successful the last 2 years. He can sustain, or he can maintain a ridiculous amount of workload in that offense. I think in terms of snap share was one of the best in the league last season, if not like number one. And I think that's going to continue for the foreseeable future. All this hype with Jarquez Hunter and the people that are still believers in Blake Corum, I think a lot of this has kind of been put to rest, and you kind of saw a glimpse of this really in preseason, where you expect some of these guys to get opportunity and take advantage of it and be very productive and look solid and be efficient, and you're like, okay, all this buzz that Jarquez Hunter has been getting in camp and in mini camp and all this stuff, like he and Blake Corum were both very, very inefficient. I think Corum ended up taking one to the house in this game, but again, like 3.5 yards per carry with like 6 touches apiece. And whatnot. Again, you don't want to conclude that this guy sucks or this guy isn't going to be good or not going to get opportunity in the regular season. But again, it's probably going to be more of like a slow transition into the NFL. And these guys probably aren't going to get a ridiculous amount of workload or opportunity unless Kyron Williams goes down. So just be ready for that. Again, you're probably going to see Kyron Williams get like 90% of the touches in that backfield like we've been seeing for the last 2 years.
All right, I'll talk about Tyler Warren for once here. But here's what I'm not going to say. I'm not going to put him as my guy. I'm not going to put him as a guarantee. He will never learn his lesson. He never will. But I've learned my lesson. I will say this. Objectively, I think you watching that game, like, he's probably going to get a ton of volume this year.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with him on that. I just can't. I can't say that a Colts player is my right. I literally can't do it. Like, I will never do it again. But like, if you watched the game,
it makes me sick to do it because
I know, dude. Like, you're setting yourself up.
I'm just setting myself up for heartbreak.
But at the same time, like, it's inherently obvious if you watched any of that game that he was the focal point of that offense when he was on the field. Like, it's not a question. And
where did he line up?
Everywhere but the backfield.
Like we thought, yeah.
And so, it will change when JT's on the field. It will change when Pitty and Downs are on the field. Yes. But at the same time, I mean, you got to think about it this way. Steichen and Ballard, they are pretty much putting their reputation on Anthony Richardson and Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
But they did with the Tyler Warren pick. They are basically saying, okay, we got Anthony Richardson, the guy he needs to make plays, and now this is what's going to be what saves our job. They literally bet their job on Tyler Warren. They're going to give him all of the volume he can handle no matter what. And right now in Dynasty, in terms of where I have him ranked, I got to admit, I probably have him. Well, I guess I do have him at the tight end 3.
You have him over Laporta now?
I've had him over Laporta.
I haven't been able to.
They're in the same.
I haven't been able to put him over Laporta, and I think I might do it.
I don't. I have him in the same tier. So I don't know. I don't know who I would take, but like, man, it's and Laporta's going to get that volume too, and Laporta's already done it, so it makes it a little bit easier for me to say, yeah, I would take Laporta over Warren. But he's right there. He's right there. I think he's a top 4 tight end in Dynasty right now. I think you can't argue that. With so much potential, man. Those rookie tight ends, they don't have to have that good of a season to really just explode in value. And we talked about this, right? I mean, Bowers did it. And Bowers, when you're looking at a per-game basis from Bowers, yeah, Bowers, from a tight end perspective, was good last year. But in non-tight end premium leagues, I mean, Bowers last year was 3rd in points per game. Like, it's not like he was like the runaway tight end 1 last year. He wasn't. And so it doesn't take much. Like 15 points per game. I think Tyler Warren could do that. And so you just have to keep in mind when you're ranking these guys, when you're buying these guys, when you're investing in these guys, there is potential here for all of this. And that, Tyler Warren is somebody who, admittedly could move up rankings. I'm having a hard time betting on him. I'm having a hard time rostering him just because I don't want to get myself into another Colts fan conundrum here. And it's not because I'm a fan. In fact, I hate the Colts. I hate the Colts more than all the other 31 teams in the NFL. Wait, okay. Titans, I hate more. Patriots, I probably still hate more.
Yeah.
Eagles, maybe.
Eagles fans. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
We love you, Eagles
Okay.
fans.
Whoa. We got a lot of Eagles fans. They're great people.
It was a joke.
Okay. Regardless, you know what I'm saying. Next guy.
Yeah. Isaac Tesla getting a decent amount of buzz after he had a nice contested catch in the red zone in their first preseason game. And again, this is just something that kind of resurrects, I guess, the discussion of like what is Tesla really going to be able to do in an offense that's already overcrowded. In an offense where Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery are all expected to really get their own. And while Avery and I are really only betting on 4 of those 5 to meet expectations this season, one guy's got to be an odd man out, we would assume, because that was the case last year. You still have to look at Tesla and be like, okay, when has anything about the Lions offense ever made sense? And when have we, been surprised since Dan Campbell has come into that offense about some player producing at some point? And it's pretty much been every single year. Yeah, every single year, something happens that we just don't see coming. And again, I just feel like this is almost like the unexpected stars are aligning for Isaac Tesla, where it's like, hey, this guy somehow, some way is going to find his way on the first team and get reps and get snaps with that offense and get opportunities, starting opportunities, and just shock the world. Is that possible? Like, maybe. Again, I'm not going to bet on it, but what I will say is, like, it's no longer a joke to invest in Isaac Tesla. It's no longer a joke to hold him on your taxi squad. It's no longer a joke to go draft him in your startup draft right now if you haven't done it this August. I don't think you're insane if you just want to take a flyer on an early 3rd round pick that they celebrated like crazy, like they just won the freaking lottery again. Like they've done this with guys in the past, and the usage that he's been getting in training camp and how he's really been able to, I mean, he's gotten quite a bit of noise for the opportunity that he's gotten, again, which is limited. But a guy that you're going to want to keep an eye on, again, long term, like what's JMO heading into the 4th year of his rookie deal now? And if Tesla shows enough flashes this season, you're looking at, if they don't want to extend JMO, maybe Tesla is the next guy up that's on a rookie deal, right? There's a lot of moving pieces now because they have to pay that offensive line. They just extended Goff. They just extended Amon-Ra St. Brown. The extension with Aiden Hutchinson obviously is going to, like, this cap is starting to get crowded. There's not a lot of cap left is what I'm trying to say. So keeping these stars all together for so long is not going to be realistic, as, again, Laporta is going to need an extension eventually as well. I think they let JMO walk before they let Laporta walk. That's just my opinion. But being realistic here, volume-wise, is Tesla going to just go absolutely crazy? I wouldn't bet on it, but I will admit he's a little interesting now. So he is.
All right, so, pretty much the entire offseason, Matthew Golden has been a guy that I haven't really personally, like, I've not been super in on him. And at the beginning of the offseason, Nathan wasn't either. Nathan was kind of with me where he was like, okay, we both were kind of very hesitant to draft Matthew Golden because his reception data wasn't good. His profile at Texas wasn't good. He didn't really do much from a production standpoint at Texas either.
His bakery metrics aren't great either.
His bakery metrics suck, and the bakery is a very good model. And so, I wasn't really thinking about Matthew Golden. But then when Nathan started kind of, propping up Matthew Golden and liking him more, like, to me, that kind of, it made me at least think about it. Nathan has changed my mind a little bit. He's actively every day trying to get me like, hey, we got to move this guy up. We got to really highlight this guy. He was begging me to talk. I was like, okay, fine, I'll talk about him. And so with Golden, the one thing I did see from Golden that I liked in the preseason game, obviously the big news there is Reed's going to be out for probably week 1 and beyond. Who knows how long. But I liked how they were using Golden. I liked that they were using Golden at the sticks. They tried to use Romeo Doubs at the preseason game at the sticks. He dropped a couple. They dropped a ton of passes in that game. But I liked that they were getting him on the quick hitters because that's not really Jaden Reed's game. And so, you know, when you consider that and consider Nathan just absolutely hammering it in my brain, we got to talk about Golden. We got to talk about Golden. We got to talk about. I at least want to say, like, I want to cover our butts here a little bit because Matthew Golden could be a guy that we really just, that he breaks out and we'll be like, oh, he does have a ton of potential.
He's got the avenue. He does have the avenue to do it.
And he's got the potential volume as well.
Analytically, as unlikely as it seems, just when you're looking at the bakery, when you're looking at the efficiency metrics as a route runner, if we went into the season and Matthew Golden started balling out, we'd be like, I mean, okay, I guess we were wrong about that. So
well, you will be right, but it's fine. All right, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed as well if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. Again, you can get a free team blueprint. We can do that for you. Annual Motherflocker to your code domain. You can get your free team blueprint. Nathan and I do all of these personally. He's probably going to put Matthew Golden as a buy, and you're just going to have to take it with a grain of salt because he's so biased. But we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later.